no good way to put it, so I'm just going to say it. After 10 years, Alexisonfire has decided to part ways. I'm going to try and give you the facts about this as best I can.
Time will come when we are all condemned to wrong damage we and I. Held accountable for us. Battles lost, battles won.
Almost a year ago, Dallas informed us that he would be leaving Alexisonfire after we finished our Old Crows Young Cardinals tour cycle. Trying to balance his life between touring with us at the same time quelling the success of City and Colour was a task too difficult to continue managing. He informed us he wanted to focus his efforts on City and Colour.
It was the hardest thing that I've ever had to do in my life, was to sit here and tell those four guys that I was going to leave the band, you know, like nothing I think I will ever do will surpass that moment.
Then he's like, well, so I'm doing the rest of this tour cycle and then I'm quitting Alexisonfire. We're like, oh, okay, well here we are. We're like, oh, I thought we were going to talk about going to Brazil. Well, this is a totally different experience. This kind of sucks.
Creates a whole lot of feelings of mainly of disconnection, of sadness.
It was tough, you know. I mean, we spent the last 10 years playing together every day. You know, we've been there for each other's like low points, each other's high points, and it was strange. You know, it was a really strange time of changes for everybody.
It's not like breaking up with a girlfriend or quitting a job. It's like telling four guys who you know so intimately, basically that you're I know better than I know my family, that I'm going to leave and go do something else without them. But I knew I had to do it, you know, because I was on the brink of, you know, like a nervous breakdown, you know, and I kind of had a couple up until that point. So I knew it was the right decision for me, but that didn't make it any easier. So.
Here come, just sounds sweet. Having trumpets speak, while they speak in name. Hallelujah, we'll praise the Lord.
Under the knowledge Dallas was leaving, the rest of us discussed the future of the band. After much deliberation, we decided to continue the difficult task of replacing Dallas.
But as that was starting to move forward, something still wasn't right. I mean, even with the songs we were creating, the four of us, there was that missing link. I think Alexisonfire is the five of us for a reason.
I was like hell-bent on keeping it going. I was traveling and trying to play with different musicians and find a new guitar player, and it wasn't lining up.
I don't think that was making anyone feel particularly positive or confident about what we were doing.
Do we try to continue, Alexis? Or do we just screw the cap on the lid there?
And I made up my mind that I just didn't think it was going to happen, you know. And I don't think that's a terrible position to be in, you know. If you don't think you're going to put out the work of your career, I don't know if you should be doing it, you know.
We will know.
Time got the best of us. Over the last 6 months, we all dealt with a litany of personal issues which pulled us further from Alexisonfire. In addition to that, Wade was recently asked to join another band, and he felt it was an opportunity he would like to pursue.
I got approached by Gallows. This is probably a year after Dallas had left, and they'd asked me to sing, and I felt like it was something I had to do, and I went in and had that, terrible conversation with the guys at rehearsal. Said, I don't know what everyone's thinking, but this is something I gotta do, like, right now.
That was even more of a piss off, because we were like, the four of us were we were next door jamming, and we were like, okay. Wade's kind of like, oh, before we jam, we should probably talk to you guys about something. And he's like, so the guys from Gallows gave me a call, and I'm probably gonna join the band. I'm like, oh, so I guess that means we're over? Or you're quitting? He's like, yeah. Oh, okay. And that was kind of like, oh, what a bummer.
Well, I think maybe that was me admitting it to myself that it was time. It was me admitting it to myself that it was time to call it a day. And I think everyone else, decided in the coming days that that was time as well.
Replacing one guitar player / singer / writer was something we thought was possible, but replacing two would run the serious risk of perverting the legacy of what we had achieved. So we all took a good hard swallow and decided to end it so it would never get old and ugly.
I was in New York, and George called me to say that Wade had told them that he was going to join Gallows, and that they were going to, he was like, I think the band, we're going to call it.
It kind of made sense at that point. There was thoughts of would we continue on, or just like, no, it'd be like a bastardization of what it was, and it wouldn't be Alexis without two guys missing,
We probably would have been trying to slug it out and made a not very good record as a result of that, In the end, Wade saying that and going was kind of the impetus that stopped it.
It was a really hard conversation for me to have with the other three guys. Even though I felt like we were giving it a shot, we called it at a great time.
Was the breakup amicable? Not really. Was it necessary? Probably. Regardless, the members of this band are my family, and I wish them nothing but good fortune.
Want younger-looking eyes that say, wow? With Olay, here's how. New Regenerist Eye and Lash Duo. The cream smooths the look of lids, softens the look of lines. The serum instantly thickens the look of lashes. See wow eyes in just 1 week with Olay.
This is not a funeral. This is a wake, people. It's a goddamn celebration of the life of Alexisonfire. Let's try to embrace our creation, 'cause we were born in a race to living on left in the way of a world undone, like a bird. We start hearts to roll in search of the world, 'cause born in a race. Come on, sing it.
We weren't gonna do this if we had to drag anyone into doing it. Like, I wasn't gonna try and call these guys up and like, do me a favor, man, we need to do this one last tour, man. I got a call from our manager, and he was like, hey, I saw Dallas last week, and he was saying, let's do this Alexis tour. If anything, I think Dallas was the one who needed to come to the table and be for it. Like, 'cause when I heard that, like, that Dallas was in, I just knew that, like, if Dallas is in, then it's not gonna be like a hard talk to everybody.
After the almost 2-year break, going into our first rehearsal, I wasn't sure.
I was excited. I was really nervous.
Part of me was worried.
I was nervous that my voice wouldn't hold up, as I was for most of my career in the band.
I was definitely apprehensive because I hadn't played any Alexis stuff probably a year and a half at least.
Can we play the songs in a manner that's going to befit the venues that we are playing at?
We had a jam at Dal's place early on when we found out we were going to do the tour finally, and it was me, Dallas, and Steele.
There was one rehearsal with Dallas, Steele, Beard, and me.
And then when Wade got home, we had one full practice in my basement.
Wade got home 3 days before we left for the tour. He was on tour at the Gallows.
I'd flown back, got in at night, woke up that next morning and drove to Dallas's house to rehearse with the guys.
He was planning his wedding, which was happening 5 days after we got home from tour.
And so it was the first time the five of us had been in the same room, you know, since we broke up.
We had a tentative set list. We had, 27 songs we were willing to play.
The gear kind of works. We're going to be all right.
It was the first time I'd played guitar in about a year.
And these are songs that some of them we created in Wade's mom's basement back in 2001.
We started playing and everything fell into place right away.
We remembered the songs.
The notes almost played themselves.
Everything just came back like riding a bike.
You know, we could have practiced for 2 straight months or not practice at all, and going out on stage would have felt exactly the same. It would have felt weird, no matter what, because we hadn't played together in 2 years.
Yes! The only thing shaped to you is your friend. You're always trying to
We started talking about we should do one final show. Let's do a Toronto show.
We knew we weren't going to be able to go everywhere, and we knew that we were going to, aggravate a lot of people.
We just wanted to kind of pack in as much as we could in the amount of time that we had.
It was just given that we would need to play and want to play London, England to start the tour off.
Our manager came back and was like, let's do Toronto, London, Melbourne. How about that?
One of my most memorable shows in all of the thousands of shows I played with Alexis was the first time we played in Australia, in Adelaide.
And Australia is almost like a second home.
We wanted to try and do Canada as comprehensively as we could have.
4 nights in Toronto, 1 show in Hamilton, the second Montreal show, Calgary, Vancouver. We picked our favorite places to play. Obviously, there were a lot of places we missed out on.
The thing that really cracked it open and turned it into a tour, I think, was the Brazil show.
It was on our list of places. It was almost like a bucket list. We always wanted to go there.
We thought, why not go there for the first time and the last time? And that turned out to be like probably one of the best shows we've ever played as a band.
Top 3 hottest Alexisonfire shows ever. The ceilings and walls were just dripping.
Our Brazilian fans were always messaging us. They were like, come to Brazil. You've never been to Brazil. What are you doing?
We really cut a line across the world over those years, and we played an insane amount of shows, in an insane amount of places. So it was nice to end it like this.
Sing along. We are the same, and we don't belong. Raise up your head. Sing along. Sing along, along. I want to thank everybody who traveled far and wide to be here tonight. Our gratitude is depthless, endless for you people. Thank you very much. So, if you came to celebrate, now's your chance, so get celebrating.
It was great to end the band in such a positive way, because I think it really deserved a proper send-off, you know? It deserved to be some fireworks instead of something just fizzling out.
When it became reality that we were going to be able to do it one more time, it was just, just the best. It was the best.
But I can't believe this is where I feel lost now. Where's your time? So fast I find start. Cause just sitting, the city's altered.
There's sense, like, some of which are unbelievable, some of which are scary.
For me, it was getting to play with the bands that I grew up listening to, like Metallica and Faith No More and like Alice in Chains. And we just did all these festivals, and we got to play with these huge bands that I was so into when I was a kid.
It's almost like a dream, make-believe kind of thing, to be in an airport with your guitar in your hand in Tokyo and asking yourself, how kind of thing, how? Wow.
I remember a good one where we didn't have enough money to stay at a hotel, and we had a really long drive, and we were in the desert in the States, and we just pulled over on the side of the desert and slept in the van. And I remember we had the windows open because we knew it was going to be so hot in the morning. But Steele woke up in the middle of the night, and he said he was worried desert like spiders or scorpions were going to get in the van, so he shut all the windows while we were sleeping, and we all just woke up like dying in the desert heat, sleeping in the van.
I used to settle all of our shows when I was like 18. I used to carry brass knuckles around like I was gonna smash up the promoter if he didn't give me that $50. And I was like, we were just like, whatever it takes. And I literally thought in my 18-year-old brain that, you know, yeah, if the promoter in New Jersey doesn't give us that, it's probably something obscene, like it was probably $50. Like, I'm gonna have to, I don't know what I was imagining, like me pulling him out and putting him on the table or something. Like, no idea. Never had to use them. So that's good. The first van was like this unbelievable 80s van with like 4 captain's chairs, so spacious. We thought, this van is unbelievable. This is the one, you know?
We tried to go on our very first tour in the States. Like, we were like, you know, we're going to show everybody we're going on tour in the States. And our van broke down 4 hours outside of St. Catharines. And we had to be towed back to the border. And then my dad had to come pick us up.
Eventually we did a tour across Canada, and we had a bit of money, and we bought this like Ford E350 Super Duty, like, you know, 15-person passenger van. And man, did we ever put miles on that thing, man. We drove that thing everywhere.
The seats were like starting to rip, and it wasn't even that old. We just used it so much. Like, the seats were starting to fall apart, and it had this weird, it always had this weird smell in it.
The van, for me, was like my child. I drove probably 350,000 of those kilometers myself because I am a control freak. I always drove because I couldn't handle when anybody else was driving.
That got us, you know, across North America 10 or 15 times.
And near the end, it ran, but not great. We were always kind of apprehensive about going anywhere too far with it.
I was the Alexis member to see the van's last days on the road. We were driving to a festival in Clifford, Ontario, going down the QEW towards Hamilton. The front left tire just exploded, and our trailer, full of gear, started fishtailing. So the van and trailer is now sideways on the QEW and straight into the wall, into the median. And somehow I was able to pull it back and just stay in the shoulder as the left-hand lane was passing at 100 kilometers an hour. And just in shock, sweating, terrified of what happened, and just in shock, sweating, terrified of what happened, not knowing what happened, and then it was a write-off. We somehow collected all of our gear, got into individual vehicles, and made it to that Clifford show with Monine on a baseball diamond. So we'll go to any lengths, we'll make it. We will make it.
Your band finishes, and then you kind of start to take a good look at yourself and think about, you know, what your next moves are, and if you want to continue in music, if you want to pursue other things in life, kind of thing.
For the last year, I've been touring really hard with this band called Gallows. I go to Australia with them in a few weeks, and we start touring again. So, touring, back in the van.
Music and food and just that's pretty much it. Like in my shop is kind of what I'm up to these days.
I've got some pretty substantial irons in the fire, but you know, none of which I really feel the need to promote. They're not really music related. They're things that I'm doing outside of that. I think there was kind of a desire to move on to something else and try and kind of push myself to do something that I've never really done before.
I just made a new City and Color record, so that'll come out this year, and you know, continue doing that. Who knows? Maybe I'll put out a weird, you know, jazz fusion record one day. Hopefully not, but you never know what's going to happen. So
I don't overwhelm myself with, you know, the future. But for right now, I think I'm putting it aside, and I'm not going to continue with music right now.
Having your band break up is a very, very soul-searching thing to do. I suggest everyone do it. It'll make you a better person in the end. Break up your band. In closing, I would like to offer my sincerest gratitude to the fans of Alexisonfire around the world. I'm forever grateful to anyone who has ever taken any interest in what we did. You're our engines. You have given us a spectacular decade rich with experience and joy. I love you all. Take solace in the fact that you live in one of the most exciting musical eras. Try to support some of your local independent artists in the same way that you supported us. A life of musical exploration is a rich and fulfilling one. Love, George.